that combination of moderating inflation, growing wages and the tax cuts rolling out means that real household disposable income is growing again on a per capita basis. That's a good thing because elsewhere in the economy we're seeing a lot of weakness. As you rightly point out, this GDP growth number today is below what economists were expecting. It is a weaker economy than was anticipated, but we are seeing that growth in real household disposable incomes again on a per capita basis, and that's a good thing. Meaningful cost of living help in the most responsible way that we can. We see the impact of the tax cuts in these numbers today, but energy bill rebates, cheaper medicines, cheaper early childhood education, rent assistance, fee-free TAFE, getting wages moving again. This is a really important part of our response to the cost of living pressures that people are still under. And again, you see that in the incomes measures in the national accounts which were released today. We know people are doing it tough, but we've been working very hard to turn that around. When we came to office, living standards were falling very substantially. We've worked very hard to turn that around, but we know that people have got a lot of ground to make up in their household budgets.
Treasurer Jim Chalmers has responded to the latest national accounts data, acknowledging that the Australian economy is facing a more challenging path than expected. The Australian Bureau of Statistics recently reported that the country's GDP growth for the September quarter was just 0.3%, well below economists' expectations. While this growth is positive, it's not as robust as many had hoped, reflecting broader concerns about the economic outlook. Chalmers acknowledged the weaker-than-anticipated economic growth, admitting that it signaled a slowdown in certain sectors of the economy. However, he remained optimistic, highlighting the growth in real household disposable incomes on a per capita basis as a silver lining. This, according to Chalmers, is a positive indicator for the nation's financial health despite the slower GDP performance.
So what this government has done is basically having a closing down sale, trying to convince Australians to vote for them rather than fixing the fundamentals around their energy system, about a proper industrial relations policy. You can't spend your way out of it. You can't solve the nation's problems by keep spending the nation's money. And that's what Jim Chalmers is doing. And this has put the RBA in a real predicament about the two-speed this economy is in. Australians are hurting because of the decisions Albanese's made, because his ideology hasn't met the practical reality of what are the fundamentals of what's keeping inflation sticky.
Opposition figures, such as Nationals leader David Littleproud, have been quick to criticise the government's handling of the economy, arguing that the Labor government under Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is driving Australia's economy into a wall. Littleproud pointed to the GDP data as evidence that the government's economic policies are failing to address underlying issues, warning that continued high spending could further exacerbate economic stagnation. He argued that simply increasing government expenditure is not a sustainable solution to the nation's challenges, suggesting that the government must focus on addressing the fundamentals of economic growth rather than relying on financial bailouts. The criticism from Littleproud underscores a broader debate in Australia about fiscal responsibility and economic management. While the government seeks to maintain support through targeted financial policies, opposition leaders emphasise the need for a more cautious and pragmatic approach to spending. In recent developments, opposition leader Peter Dutton has accused the Australian government of selling out Israel in a bid to win votes, particularly from the Green Party. This accusation follows Australia's change in position on a key United Nations resolution that demands Israel withdraw from Gaza. The government shifted its stance, aligning with 156 other nations in supporting the motion that calls for Israel to end its unlawful presence in the occupied Palestinian territory. This decision has been met with strong criticism from Dutton, who argues that the government has compromised Australia's relationship with Israel to gain political support in Labor-held seats that are under pressure from the Greens. The United Nations motion aims to address the ongoing conflict and territorial disputes involving Israel, especially in Gaza and the West Bank, areas that have seen continued Israeli settlement expansion. Notably, Australia's support for the resolution marks a shift from its previous stance, which had been more supportive of Israel. Dutton claims that this move contradicts promises made by the government before the last election, particularly regarding its stance on key UN votes. He suggests that the government's primary motivation is to secure votes from the Greens, a party with strong views advocating for an end to Israel's military actions and the imposition of sanctions. In response, Treasurer Jim Chalmers rejected Dutton's claims, accusing him of playing divisive politics with a sensitive issue. Chalmers emphasized that the government's position reflects Labour's broader commitment to achieving a peaceful two-state solution, underscoring the importance of a balanced approach to the Israel-Palestine conflict. He also pointed out that Australia's statement of explanation clarifies the rationale behind its vote and its continued support for international peace efforts in the region. The political controversy has intensified, especially in Labour-held seats with significant Muslim populations, where the Greens have found a fertile ground for support. While the debate continues, the core issue remains whether Australia's foreign policy should prioritise long-standing alliances or adjust to the shifting political landscape in the face of growing public advocacy for Palestinian rights. Thank you for tuning into Aussie Pulse. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to subscribe for more insights and updates. See you next time.